The Texas House and Senate have been busy little beavers over the past few months, and they just approved a massive property tax cut here in Texas. In a static market, this would be excellent news for homeowners, but we're not in a static market, and we need to talk about how this is going to affect the Dallas housing market. Well, hello, this is Wendy Pennell, and after a month-long stalemate, the Texas House and Senate have finally agreed to a huge property tax relief package. Governor Abbott is pretty excited. He tweeted, "I look forward to this legislation reaching my desk so I can sign into law the largest property tax cut in Texas history." So this is awesome news, right? Well, not necessarily, but let's dig into this, okay? I want to show you how these new reductions will work, how much money you can expect to save, and then I want to talk about how this is going to impact the Dallas housing market. Robert Garrett with the Dallas Morning News describes how two treats lie in store for homeowners if the deal becomes law: higher exemptions and lower tax rates. This is a huge $18 billion plan. Phil Prazan explains how roughly $7 billion of the plan adds more state money to lower the school property tax rate by 10.7 cents for every $100 of value. Now, this is for homeowners who use their properties as their principal residence, okay? Meaning you live there, not a rental. So that first change, the first exciting change, is a 10.7 cent reduction on the school tax rate. He goes on to explain more than $5 billion of the plan goes to raising the homestead exemption from $40,000 to $100,000. So change number two, the homestead exemption on your school tax is increased from $40,000 to $100,000. But your benefits don't stop there. Change number three is for property owners over the age of 65, okay? They'll receive an even higher exemption of $110,000. Now, on the other hand, landlords and business owners, they don't have access to the homestead exemption, but they stand to gain from other parts of the tax cut. Okay, for instance, how about this one? How about an annual cap on tax appraisals at 20% for the next 3 years? In the past, if you owned a rental property, okay, the taxable value on it could easily go up by $100,000 in 1 year. I mean, heck, it could even double in value. There were literally no safeguards. You know, with the homestead exemption, you have that protective cap, but with rentals, man, you got nothing. Okay, but now you will. It's part of the new tax cut. Garrett explains that for tax years 2024, 25, and 26, the annual cap on growth of appraised values for non-homesteads, commercial property and second homes, for example, would be 20%. Now, small businesses, they're also getting a piece of the action, okay? Prazan explains that small businesses, which make up to $2.47 million in total revenue, will no longer pay the state franchise tax. So reduction number 5 benefits small businesses. Businesses making less than $2.47 million will no longer owe the state franchise tax. So summarizing it, really, the tax cut is reducing school tax rates, increasing homestead exemptions, capping tax appraisals for rentals and commercial properties, and eliminating the state franchise tax for many small businesses. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick explains how the new plan will cut school taxes for homeowners by about 41%, and people who have business properties about 23%. You know, if you were to take it like on average, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick said the new compromise will see Texas homeowners paying $1,200 to $1,450 less in property taxes than they did previously, and that's beginning this year. Now, you may have noticed I said the school tax rate, and that's with good reason. Robert Garrett explains that the state only has partial control over one of the many forms of property taxes, the one school districts collect to pay for maintenance and operations. Now, lest that make it even more confusing, okay, let me explain how property taxes are broken down. Pretty much every home is going to have property taxes with at least 2 components, all right, just at least 2. And those will be your county taxes as well as school taxes. Sometimes a home is outside city limits. So in those cases, you don't even have a city tax. Most of the time though, homes will also be within city limits, all right? So now you have county, school, and city property taxes. Now, many counties will also have a hospital tax and a college tax. And then if you get super local, sometimes you'll see what's known as a MUD or a PID. So you may have pictured property taxes as just one bill. And it's true, okay, that is how it's going to come to you, but it's actually a combination of several parts. So this tax cut is through the state and applies to the school taxes and homestead exemptions, but it's still a very big deal because school taxes are typically the biggest part of your total bill. In fact, take a look at this. If your homestead was in the city of Dallas, within Dallas County, your tax rate would look something like this. Now we're gonna do a little bit of rounding here, but basically your tax rate for being within Dallas County, okay, just Dallas County, would be 0.228. Then within the city of Dallas, it would be 0.746. Within the Dallas School District, it would be 1.185. So do you see how much bigger that is than the others? Then you would also have your Parkland Hospital of 0.236 and Dallas College of 0.116. So seeing the cuts apply to the school tax portion is a very big deal. All right, but how much would you save with the new plan? Well, thankfully, Robert Garrett with the Dallas Morning News gives us an excellent example. He goes by the average single-family home valued at $388,000 and some change, all right? He shows how right now, right as of today, the $40,000 state exemption would be subtracted, and you would end up at a taxable value of $309,775. Then you multiply that times the rate of $1.18, and your tax due would be $3,655. Then he compares how under the new law, with the same average single-family home worth $388,000, now you would take out the $100,000 state exemption, right? As compared to the $40,000, and your taxable value ends up at $249,775. Now, according to Garrett, the tax rate is then lowered to 97 cents, and your tax due ends up at $2,423, saving the average homeowner $1,232 per year. If you're looking to get an exact number of how much you'll save, each of the counties have their own tax estimators. Remember, the state is pretty limited in how much they can control. They regulate the school tax. Each county will treat those individual components a little bit differently. Now, the state says, hey, you need to apply a $100,000 homestead exemption to school taxes. The county may then come in and apply a homestead exemption to more than just the school tax. For example, if you go to the Dallas County Property Tax Estimator and we enter $100,000 as a market value, just as an example, you can see here you've got these tax rates, right? Okay. Now, if we check the general homestead, you can see right here that they give you a homestead exemption on all of these portions, even though the state really can only control this part, and Dallas chooses to give an even higher discount there. So we know at the very minimum we have these state mandated cuts, but it may apply even more generously at a county by county level. So this is amazing news, right? I mean, how could this possibly be a bad thing? Well, this tax cut is probably going to have some unintended consequences on the Dallas housing market. Let's imagine you're planning to relocate to Dallas, so you apply for a mortgage. All right, you're probably not going to pause and consider the lowered property taxes as a significant savings. Instead, you're going to be looking at the amount your lender pre-qualifies you for. So what does being pre-qualified involve? All right, it takes into account the repayment of the mortgage, right? We're talking about the principal and interest of the loan. Also, home insurance, property taxes, and possibly mortgage insurance, okay? So let's just say the lender calculates these factors and tells you, for instance, that you qualify for $900,000. Before the property tax cut, it might have been $800,000 or $850,000, but you're new to Texas, so you don't know to make that distinction. Essentially, here's what's happening. When the property taxes go down, buying power increases. Lower taxes mean you can afford a higher mortgage. And not just you, everyone relocating to Dallas just got a boost in their buying power. The truth of the matter is, buyers tend to base their spending on what lenders say they can afford rather than the actual amount of debt. We saw a clear example of this in 2020. As interest rates dropped, the mortgage part of your monthly payment dropped and buyers could afford more. This resulted in a sharp increase in home prices because, again, buyers tend to focus on their monthly payment instead of the total mortgage amount. With the property tax cut, buyers are going to qualify for more, and we're probably going to see price escalation as a result. So yeah, at first glance, the property tax cut may seem like a win for homeowners and prospective buyers, but its potential to inflate house prices could definitely have negative effects on the Dallas housing market. Phil Prazan summarized it this way. He said, the state's strong economy and hot real estate market will likely continue to increase property values, thereby increasing the total tax bills. Okay, so we know this is going to end up affecting the housing market, but when will we see it hit? Well, the tax cut will go into effect retroactively, meaning it will apply to all of 2023, but only after it's voted on in November. And remember, when this happens, chances are relocating buyers aren't going to be aware of all of this going on, and they're just suddenly going to qualify for more. So I had to be honest, I'm a little concerned about how this is going to affect our usual benefits of seasonality. And what I mean by that is the Dallas housing market traditionally sees predictable price fluctuations throughout the year. January typically brings the lowest prices, followed by a gradual increase through the spring and summer months as families, aim to move before school starts. As the kids return to school in the fall, home values usually slow down, with prices again bottoming out in January, when it's cold and gray and, everybody's already spent all their money on Christmas. That being said, you have to think about the timing of the property tax cut. It's due to be voted on in November, and I am a little concerned it could disrupt our seasonality. The tax cut is going to increase buying power, meaning buyers are going to qualify for those larger mortgages than they would have before the tax cut. Now, we should still see the traditional downward trajectory in September and October. There's not really anything that should impact that, but the boost in buying power come November, that could interfere with our usual slowdown. Adding yet another layer of complexity, many experts are predicting that interest rates will also fall at the end of the year and moving into 2024. And, of course, what's that going to do? Well, it's going to increase buyers' purchasing power even more. The National Association of Realtors forecasts that mortgage rates will drop, with the 30-year fixed rate mortgage rate progressively falling to 6% this year. Bank of America's head of retail lending, Matt Vernon, says Bank of America Global Research expects mortgage rates to fall to 5.25% by year end. The Mortgage Bankers Association Vice President Joel Kahn expects mortgage rates to average 5.6% by the end of 2023. Then you have Freddie Mac. They forecast that the 30-year fixed rate mortgage will average 6.4% in 2023, with an average of 6.2% in the fourth quarter. Now, all of that being said, how about the big man himself, right? Well, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell has contradicted all of these predictions. He said, as anyone can see, not a single person on the committee wrote down a rate cut this year, nor do I think it is at all likely to be appropriate. So are interest rates going to go down? Okay, are they going to stay the same? Well, I think at best we can call that a wild card. Experts are predicting they'll be going down, and if they do, it absolutely will affect buying power. So what does all of this mean for the Dallas housing market? Well, the increased buying power may very well cause home prices to go up because, again, buyers tend to spend what the lenders tell them they're qualified for. Secondly, the timing of when the tax cut goes into effect, and especially if it coincides with interest rates going down, it could really disrupt the benefits we bank on in the winter months. If we see both happen at the same time, January may not bring us those golden price reductions that we usually see. Now, I am typically going to encourage you to buy in January if you can, to fully reap those benefits of seasonal price drops. However, just be aware that this year may be a little different. If you want the full advantages of seasonality, it may make sense to enter the market in like that September to November timeframe. We always have less demand in January, and that's why we see, those price drops. But if the buyers we do have during that time, are duly infused with more buying power through both a property tax cut and the interest rate wild card, just know that that may create really like a less desirable competitive landscape. So in short, it's possible January may not be the golden goose we always look forward to. In all honesty though, only you can decide when it's time to enter the market. You are never going to hear me say, buy right now, it's always a good time to buy, because the truth of the matter is it's not always a good time to buy. Prices do fluctuate in Dallas, and there are market forces that are going to drive price changes. In June of 2022, the median sales price in Dallas was $400,000, and by January, it was $350,900. The way I see it, my job is to constantly keep you in the loop as our market changes, and then be there for you when you are ready to buy. So this fall, you can reasonably expect the typical benefits of seasonal price drops, but the winter months could be negatively impacted by increased buying power. It's important you have that market information, because again, only you can decide when is the best time to buy. Speaking of which, if you'd like to know more about exactly how to time your home purchase, we talk all about that in this video, which you may want to watch next. In the meantime, Wendy out.